helpful to frame the realities of Section 3 implementation from procurement and contracting to workforce pipelines and business development. So with that, we will have our panelists introduce themselves. Do you have mics?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Lakewood Williams with the Rental Development Department with MISTA. I monitor Section 3 throughout the state of Michigan.
Good morning again, everyone. I'm Khalil Muhammad, Procurement Director for the Detroit Housing Commission. I lead the charge in terms of any solicitations and advertisements that we may do throughout the city. So please look out for us. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amin Irving. I'm the owner, developer, founder of Janasco Development Company. When HUD gives dollars to these great people up here, they then turn around and award it to developers like myself, who then has to hire businesses that will turn around and hire Section 3 eligible workers. So that is who I am.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Ford. I am the program manager for Section 3 for the city of Detroit in the HRD department, which is Housing and Revitalization Department.
Good morning. My name is Lakita Henderson, and I'm with the Small Business Administration for the, can you hear? Can you hear me? Kiss it? Can you hear me now? Can you? Good morning. Much better. Good morning. My name is Lakita Henderson. I'm the District Director for the Small Business Administration for the state of Michigan.
Good morning. My name is Leah Gordon. I'm the Community Relations Director for the Michigan Regional Council of Carpenters and Millwrights.
My name is Pastor Lorenzo Sewell. I have the honor and privilege of being the senior pastor of 180 Church. The last time I was sitting in a panel like this, it was the President of the United States that was on this same stage with me. And I want all of you to know that Dr. King made it very clear. He said, who knows the longings and the aspirations of the people more than the preacher? It's my job as the preacher to make sure you get the resources so that our community can come out of poverty. So I'm here to make sure the hood come out of poverty. Amen?
All right, perfect. Lisa, do you want to kick us off with some of our first questions?
Sure. I just want to let you, the audience know that to break up this conversation, we're going to focus on our developer and Section 3 partners, and then we'll move to the latter part of the panel in a little bit, okay? And then at the end, we are going to have time for Q&A. But if you do not, it's limited amount of time because we're standing between you and lunch. If you are unable to get your question asked during the Q&A, we will put the QR code back up so you'll be able to provide questions and feedback through the QR code, okay? All right, put my glasses back on. So I'm gonna start with Ms. Ford. From your perspective, what is the single biggest challenge in implementing Section 3 on active projects?
On active projects. Well, initially, for Section 3, before the regulation was updated, it was just tough just to monitor Section 3. So what we have been able to do is incorporate Section 3 early on in the process. Because if we get to pre-construction, it's too late for Section 3, meaning that majority of our projects go through a NOFA project. NOFA is Notice of Fund Availability. And like Janasco just mentioned, is that when we receive money, we put out a notice for, hey, there's some projects we would like to do. Bids are submitted, and if a bid receives a conditional award, then I get a notice stating that, hey, this project has the potential of moving forward, and I meet with the developer and the general contractor to make sure they understand Section 3 and to understand for their best efforts to do some outreach. I give them examples of outreach opportunities that they can do, because what was mentioned in the overview of when the project is completed, that there's so many hours that we are supposed to have been completed by Section 3 workers at the end of the project. If those benchmarks aren't matched, then HUD is going to ask us what type of outreach efforts were performed. So that's why we like to meet with the projects early on. So that's one of the challenges, just encouraging the developer and the general contractor to do some form of outreach. Even if they don't have to hire, they may have say they are fully staffed, but you still need to perform some form of outreach in the community. So that's one of the challenges, but we were able to hopefully get in early enough with that project for them to understand what is Section 3.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Muhammad, do you have different challenges or anything that you would like to add?
It's very similar to what you just heard. Most of it for me as well is just bridging the gap of being familiar with Section 3. Most contractors, they may not be fully aware or the best way to go about it. In my experience, I typically I would try to internally build some type of Excel format and kind of tag team with our resident services team, and then kind of build a list of residents that could be Section 3 potential workers for those contractors. So once we're having those pre-bid meetings and we have a notice of intent to award, we typically say, hey, we have a sit down, making sure you understand the scope of work. And related to Section 3, just knowing, hey, even if you don't have a Section 3 worker, here's a list to choose from. So that's been pretty helpful for myself.
Mr. Williams from the state?
Probably what I learned early on was kind of piggybacking off of what Patricia Ford said was just the education piece with Section 3 and starting on that early, meaning like during the bidding or pre-bidding process. And what I found is that I had to, on my end, be more proactive with, as I see these projects coming up and invitations to bid, so to speak, familiarizing myself with some of those general contractors and sub-trades that may be new to MSHDA or may currently have done projects but still aren't clear on the regulation, and then just reaching out to those representatives that work for these sub-trades or the general contractors just to offer that overview, whether we do it through a Microsoft Teams, whether I have to come on site, and then brainstorming as well. So again, the challenge is that if you don't do this early and educate folks early and just ensure that they're clear on what the regulation states, what the benchmarks are, and then in lieu of hitting those benchmarks, to Patricia's point about the qualitative efforts, you need to do this early and often and continue to do it. So that helps mitigate any type of, how do I want to phrase this, any type of misunderstandings along the way in regards to what the regulation is asking for.
Okay. You can keep the microphone because you're going to go first this next time. All right, so the next question is, what procurement or contracting barriers do you see most often, and what is driving them? Yep, Mr. Williams.
So again, what I've seen, the number one barrier I would say is putting those certified or folks that are pre-certified, right? So we talk about Section 3 business concerns. Having a portal, so to speak, or a list where that general contractor or even that sub-trade can go to as a resource, right? To look on here and not only know that they can find a Section 3 worker or a Section 3 business concern, but for them to already be pre-certified. So to me, that's the biggest barrier, is having those resources where you can direct, again, the general contractor and sub-trades to folks that are already certified as Section 3 business concerns, Section 3 workers, and typically through programs like, for instance, MRCC with Leah's group, you get candidates like this. youth build, Job Corps. So kind of, again, eliminating or having, I should say, that resource in place where you have pre-certified folks that are ready, willing, and able. That would be basically the biggest barrier that I see.
Mr. Muhammad?
Yep. My experience is pretty similar. For the barriers, most contractors are at least always willing to comply. We usually, in our solicitation packets, anything related to Section 3, we'll put an acknowledgement just saying, hey, you are willing to accommodate the Section 3 requirements. And then at that point, the contractors say, hey, I may not be familiar. And then that way, we obviously take the next step I spoke about that internal spreadsheet to give you, to fill in those gaps of options to use. And then as well as just kind of holding their hand and understanding, hey, this is what you need to do. Feel free to reach out to the team if you need any assistance. And that's pretty much been the best way for me.
Ms. Ford?
Yes, similar to what have been mentioned. Again, I mentioned earlier, the city of Detroit, we contract with the developer, and then a developer contract with the general contractor as a partner. One of the outreach efforts that the general can encourage their subs to do is to, when they have their bid meetings, to somehow make some of those bid packages smaller for the smaller business that may be considered as Section 3. Because even though a business say they're Section 3, we still have to verify that they're Section 3. And any business can come through us to get verified, but those are some of the challenges, is that they're encouraging the project to seek out Section 3 businesses. However, that business have to go through the process to be verified as a Section 3 business.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Irving, I'm going to start with you next. Okay, so where do communication gaps occur between grantees, developers, and contractors?
So the communication gap really, in my opinion, isn't between the grantee, right, the state, the city, or the feds to the developer. I think the communication gap is really with the contractor to the subcontractor, and then the subcontractor to the actual laborer. So it's my responsibility, if I receive money from the city of Detroit, they put the Section 3 requirement on me, right? So then I turn around and I'm like, all right, general contractor, you need to add this Section 3. And not only that, I'm gonna bond you, which means a bond is an insurance policy to ensure completion of construction. What makes the general contractor really, really scared is that if they go and try to find a Section 3 business, or they have subs that utilize Section 3 workers, if I'm keeping it 100, they believe that these type of workers are a risk to their completion. And if it's a risk to them getting the job done, but they still have to guarantee completion of that job to me, well, then they're gonna be out of business. So if you wanna keep it real, what contractors really do is they try to say, well, how can I skirt around what qualifies for best efforts? So I can prove that I've made best efforts and still not have to use a Section 3 worker, right? So if we wanna, so I'm here to tell y'all the real, right? So I'm gonna tell you the real. And so where I think the communication gap lies is really the trust that the Section 3 worker is just as good as anybody else. That the relationship there exists, and that trust needs to be developed over time, because money flows to the least amount of risk. And if people think that Section 3 workers and businesses are a risk to production, well, then you're going to find ways to get around it.
Yes, you can.
And just to piggyback on that is that a Section 3 business, you may be surprised. You may have already someone employed that meets the Section 3 requirements. And or if you want to bid and you need to increase your capacity, we are partnering and we are developing our partnership with MRCC they have skilled trade individuals that have the skill set. So they have that skill set, so I don't want the small businesses to say it's a risk if we already have a pipeline where you can go to grab those individuals who have that skill set. And then that journeyman or that apprentice, you may be surprised. They may meet that income requirement.
So we're going to let Ms. Gordon comment because I think you wanted to say something. And then we're going to shift to Michaela. So go ahead.
So my co-panelists here mentioned risk, right? And the idea that that Section 3 worker would automatically be assumed or viewed as a risk. So at the MRCC, let's just paint a picture. Some people may know who we are, some people may not. We invested to build a 160,000 square foot building right there on Grand River in 96 in the city of Detroit at the old Tiffin Elementary School, right, or Tiffin. And so we're training people in the most technologically advanced training facility. So when you talk about risk, we are mitigating that risk for you. So as a developer, it's most advantageous for you to partner with a union contractor simply because my team alone, we do the administrative work and we work with Ms. Ford and we work with Mr. Williams to ensure that we're identifying those Section 3 workers. Oftentimes, people see that package of the salary for a union apprentice and say, oh, no, it's too much. But as we all know, just like a first-generation college student, that first-generation apprentice, they're not necessarily always getting the consistent work. So if you look at their year-to-date, it's not going to be your traditional 50-hour week. Now, granted, the salary amount is enough to stretch the money during those times when they're laid off. It's inevitable. That's what carpentry and construction is. You finish the project, you get put on the next project. But because of that intermittence of the work, they do meet those income requirements. So again, to my partners here that we've built a great partnership, I implore all developers to try to work with a union contractor because we do mitigate that risk for you.
Thank you so much. Michaela?
All right, perfect. So we're going to shift the conversation to opportunities. And I just want to say, I love how passionate our panelists are. You can see them all nodding, as everyone's speaking and getting excited to contribute to the conversation. So I just think that's so wonderful to hear from them all. Okay, so to begin talking about opportunities, Liqua, I'm going to pass this one to you first. Could you talk about what characteristics you see in successful Section 3 businesses and how can we help more firms get there? It's question 8. And what are the characteristics you see in successful Section 3 businesses and how can we help more firms get there?
Here, while he's finding that question, listen, you all, let's just pause for a second. All the money we're talking about up here is your money. We are the people. We have the power. I want to make that very clear. We need to demand more black developers. At the end of the day, Amin, I don't know any other black developers but you. I don't know. He happens to be the Michael Jordan of black development, by the way. But how many people know a black developer? Does anybody in here? Okay. So I believe that we the people, need to make sure that when we're talking about our money, because this is our money, HUD doesn't have any money. They take it out of your check every week. That's how they get their $40 billion budget. It's from the people. We are the people. We have the power. So we need to demand that people from our community are the developers. And when that happens, you solve all this. You don't have to worry about not finding the worker and skirting around this issue, skirting around that. You don't have to worry about that. Because the people that are developing actually are from the community. Can I get an amen? Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. I think we're ready to get started. So I'll just repeat the question too for everyone. So what are characteristics you see in successful Section 3 businesses, and how can we help more firms get there?
Thank you, and thanks, folks, for being patient with me. So one of the things is I touched on earlier is just planning and planning early. Because unless you have a plan set up in regards to implementing Section 3 and you go in without a plan, then you're going to fail. Okay, and there's no easy way to say it. So again, whether you're working on a local level or state level with a project, whether it's myself or Patricia, reaching out to resources that are there, even HUD as well. I've done in many cases like a pre-bid process where we talk and brainstorm about outreach efforts, job fairs, going to local municipalities for town hall meetings, just to talk about and communicate kind of what's going on and so forth. So again, the earlier that you get out and promote what you're doing, making the community that you're working in aware of what you're doing, will have a great effect on your success rate. But again, it's just planning early and also kind of keeping notes about what worked, what didn't work, so you can just kind of tweak the process from project to project.
Perfect. Kaleem, you want to respond as well?
Yeah, no problem. Pretty much covered quite a bit of the same thinking. It's interesting to see everybody on the panel kind of live the same world and challenges, so that's always good. So just to add on to it, the most successful traits or characteristics I see with the Section 3 businesses are just having the financial stability. Administratively, they're usually very structured, just simply organized, and just having the capacity to handle anything that can come their way. So they can easily take on those extra Section 3 workers, manage them, making sure that the certified payroll and everything, they're getting adequate pay. Just kind of making sure they're very thorough, not much follow-up. Those are the main things for me.
Perfect. Patricia, do you want to add?
Does really ditto what has been said. This is for any business, not just a Section 3 business. Being organized, having your paperwork together and organized, because it's just not Section 3 as a regulation that you need to maybe submit some documentation. It's anything. So as long as you are organized, have your documents handy, that's clear, easy to read, and just accessible to you. So if you are asked for something, it just helps the process. And be willing and open to hear and learn. And also, as for the city of Detroit, we're always looking for suggestions, and any comments of anything that we can even do better.
Thank you. Mr. Irving, do you want to round us out?
No, they said it all.
Right.
That's
Mic
it.
drop.
Be organized. Mic drop.
All right, perfect. Patricia, I'm hoping you can kick us off with this very next question. So what kind of support would meaningfully help Section 3 businesses grow their capacity?
It's pretty much what we just mentioned. Technically, if you organize, have your paperwork handy, and be open to, if you do need to, it depends on what part of capacity you're looking at. If your capacity, if you need more hands to do the technical work, be open to hiring someone that may be full-time temporary. That's when you partner up with MRCC to help you with that capacity. Also, the capacity of the administrative work, that is so important. We cannot stress paperwork is so important because you can't really do anything. You're probably really good at your skill and what you do, and you have a great staff, but if you don't have your paperwork together, you're not going to be able to grow your business.
Thank you. Liqua, do you want to add anything about education? I know you're so passionate about that topic.
Yeah, and on my end, I just kind of piggyback. Well, slightly different approach is where businesses having businesses understand where to find the qualified workers. On my end, that's what I found was one of the biggest disconnects when you have a general contractor, for instance, in my position, where they're looking for a Section 3 business concern. The sub-trades that are working for the general contractor typically are looking for Section 3 workers. So for me, it's basically understanding that and identifying that general contractor that needs that support of that, Section 3 business concern, or that sub-trade or sub-trades that may need support with hiring Section 3 workers. And again, folks that are already certified, because I have found that when a person or when they reach out to an organization or individual, that's one of their first questions is, are you already certified? And once they're certified, they become more attractive, for instance, to that sub-trade or that general contractor. So just education.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I want to shift our conversation a little bit to hear from SBA. So, Lakita, I'm hoping you can take this next question. From your vantage point at SBA, what are the biggest challenges small contractors face when navigating programs like Section 3?
Okay, thank you. I would say that the biggest, first of all, let me be totally transparent. I'm with the SBA, Section 3. I'm not an SME on that. We have programs, we have certification programs at SBA, and some of those small business concerns happen to be Section 3. And I actually, about 10% of my portfolio for the 8A Business Development Program are Section 3 concerns as well. And so I spoke with them about what some of the biggest challenges were. And I find that it's no different than any other government program. All is paperwork. And if you are going to commit to come into a government program, you have best to be ready, because the compliance, the reporting is mandatory. That's how the government monitors, is this an effective program? So once you make that commitment, as she stated, you've got to have that administrative portion going to do the compliance. Next, the thing that they shared with me was there's not a lot of clarity. They're confused about what they can do, what they cannot do, and seeking guidance to get that. That's been a large challenge. And then another challenge I heard was, well, all the employees, there's a plethora of employees, but they're not certified. And I don't have the time to get everyone certified. So we need a system, a better system in certifying these individuals who can work under Section 3. Is that, okay, thank you.
Yes, I think you nailed it. Okay, I'm going to ask you kind of a similar question as well, really thinking about from capacity. So capacity is a common issue and barriers that folks have even cited today. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the challenges you see most frequently there and how folks could kind of pivot and show that they do have capacity.
Oh, in terms of capacity, if you as a small business haven't built your infrastructure properly, you will not be able to compete. There are many programs out here, such as the Section 3, where many see, I'm gonna go get them dollars, let me go get these contracts, let me go get me these awards, but you're working on your business, you're working in your business, but you're not working on your business. And if you don't have capacity, the ability to get your good or your service to where it needs to go in a timely manner, if you don't have the staff, the operations, if you're not marketing it, if you're not growing your business, it's going to flounder. It's not going to go anywhere. That's why I believe that there's an opportunity for SBA and HUD to collaborate greater so that we can get these Section 3 concerns to some resource partners, and those partners who can help them build the foundations of their companies and help them grow their companies.
That's perfect. Piggybacking onto that response, would you also mind just talking a little bit about programs that are available, just to share some awareness about what programs or resources SBA does offer that folks can get involved in?
Okay, SBA We're one of the smallest agencies. And so we know that we cannot do it alone. So the SBA funds organizations such as the Small Business Development Center. Has anyone heard of the SBDC? Okay, SBA funds them partially with the state of Michigan as well. SBA funds women's business centers. Have you heard of those? One is Great Lakes Women's Business Center in Livonia. Another one is GROW in Grand Rapids. We fund 100% Vet Biz Central, which is a veterans business outreach center that veterans can go to get the foundations and get help with starting a business. We also have SCORE, and the young lady mentioned it earlier, and actually SCORE is no longer an acronym. SCORE is just SCORE. It used to be service, retired, et cetera. It's just SCORE. And those are entities that we fund. SCORE is totally volunteer. We have another agency that we work with that's funded by the Department of Logistics, which is Apex Accelerators. For those who want to go into government contracting, they are funded to especially work with small businesses to help you understand the arena of government contracting, how to get started, and they'll even help you with your business plans. They'll help you get into the arena and help you search for search for opportunities. But keep in mind, all of those, you can go there for free. As Pastor Sewell said earlier, this is already your money. Every time we grant somebody money, it's your money. It's what we get from you. So there's no cost to go to these places, and they can take you from an idea to starting your business. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I think we're ready to pass it over to you, Leah. Lisa, do you want to start with a couple questions for Leah?
Yeah, happy to. So thank you for being here with us today, Ms. Gordon. And I wanted to start with, what should developers understand about the true benefits of working with union contractors?
So I mentioned it before, right? Our job as the MRCC is to ensure that we're providing you with top-notch workforce. We're able to make sure that people are trained in the best, highest capacity. We're able to mitigate those risks as far as Section 3 is concerned, and making sure that we're identifying those Section 3 workers. But in addition to that, we're a statewide organization. So as a developer, you could be working in Southeast Michigan, but also have projects in Kent County, and we have training facilities to support that as well. So overarchingly, we have the system designed to get you connected to the workforce that you would need. We have 14 agents that specifically work with contractors to make sure that they're getting people out to projects. So when we say we mitigate the risk at all phases of your project. So what does that mean for a developer? That means that your project is on time, that means that it's done correctly, and that means that it is under budget. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you. So what are some common misconceptions about becoming a signatory contractor, and what is the reality of that process? And can you please define signatory contractor? Because I'm not sure everyone's going to know that term.
So a signatory contractor means that you are now in contract with the union. So that means that your workforce comes from our apprenticeship training school. So our organization is a 3-tier organization. We have our apprenticeship training facility that's right there on American Road, and we train about 600 Detroiters every day. We bring in 80 to 180 new apprentices every quarter. So when we talk about, I heard the young lady from Pontiac say, where do I get the people from? Who has the skills? They're at the training. They're at the union training facility. So the second tier of that organization is the council. Those are the people that work on behalf of developers and with developers to make sure that the contracts are there. We have the workforce for you. We're connecting the dots. We're abreast to emerging industry. So we do everything from concrete to mass timber to solar. So we're abreast to all of the new emerging industries as well. And so then the third tier of that is also just making sure that we're mitigating that risk, making sure that we're our apprentices have top insurance, that they're healthy, that they have barrier relief, that they have transportation access. We have lift grants for our apprentices. We have tool grants for our apprentices. We have boot grants for our apprentices. So when we talk about a full ecosystem for construction, as a developer, where else would you look to make sure that your project, again, is on time and under budget and done right?
Okay, last question. In what ways do unions support Section 3 contractors and help them succeed on publicly funded projects? And I know that you've kind of touched on that a little bit, but do you have anything specific that you would like to note?
So Patricia, Liqua, and I, we met about a year ago now? Something like that. And we built a comprehensive program. I knew that by definition of what a Section 3 worker was, we had those people in our apprenticeship school. And I knew that this was a perfect opportunity to get some people that, to Pastor Sewell's point, may be overlooked, may not be, because let's be honest, we know the myths and the misconceptions of the union and everybody wasn't allowed in and it was gate kept, you had to know somebody to know somebody. That's not the case anymore. We have an open door policy. So with that, though, we know that we have to also mitigate those barriers for those people. So we know that we have Section 3 people in our facility. We know that we're able to support those people, and we know that we're able to get them on the job. So when you talk about preparing people and contractors for Section 3, that's how we support them. We built a whole administrative process. We identify the Section 3 workers. We do the administrative work. We work with the GC. We work with the subcontractor. We work with whoever needs to be worked with to make sure that that documentation is done appropriately so that we're not, when we talk about capacity, we're filling that gap that a lot of those smaller contractors may not be able to fill as far as capacity and doing the administrative work.
Well, thank you. That sounds interesting. All right, Pastor Sewell, we're going to let you wrap us up, and then after you're finished, we're going to open it to the audience for question and answer, so Q&A, and this is your opportunity. They're right here. All right, so start thinking about what your questions are going to be. Pastor?
Thank you so much. So when we think small business administration, Kelly Loeffler, I think some of her people are watching right now. Does anybody know who she is? Okay, just wave at me if you know Kelly Loeffler, Secretary, I should say Secretary Loeffler is. If anything is holding you back from getting the funding you need to communicate that to us. Communicate that to me so I can communicate that to her. It's a federal bank of your money. Are you listening to me? Now, I'm a black pastor in a black community. The second largest voting bloc, the second largest investors in that system are black people, not Latinos. Latinos represent 5 races. Black people represent 1 race. And we are the second largest investors into the SBA. So we should be getting the second most money out of it. Are you hearing me today? I'm serious, you all. I mean, we're in Detroit, y'all. We in the hood, so we got to have this conversation. So listen, this is important. So if you're a business owner and you're like, wow, I want to get resources from the SBA because it's my money. I need to get a low interest loan, right? I want to start that business. Communicate that to us so we can be able to make sure you can go through what you need to go through. And if there are hindrances, tell me so I can tell Kelly. So I can tell Secretary Loeffler and say, hey, this is a problem. We need to fix this problem so that the people that are the investors, they are the shareholders, they can get out of the bank, the federal bank, what's already theirs. Okay, got a few amens. That's all right. It's the truth. The second thing, in terms of capacity, the reason why it's very hard to find people is because we don't want to go talk to poor black people. It's just the reality of the matter. We don't want to go to the hood. We don't want to go and talk to the people that Dr. King actually died to make sure this legislation takes place as regards to HUD. So in order for that to stop, the church is willing to be a conduit, right? We're willing to be a conduit to make sure we go to places like Herman Gardens and other places, knock on doors. Dewey and I talked about that. Thank you, Dewey, for spending time with me today and being willing to talk about that type of idea where we can go knock on doors and we can go and let people know that have the capacity that there are these opportunities available to them. Somebody say access. And my heart is, throughout everything that we're doing, we would give access to entrepreneurs, access to business owners, because, and I'm gonna say this because I said it to President Trump when he was here, we're the only community where we go and we get gas, from the Arabs. I got to get my hair looking like this from Asians. Now, I love Asians. My wife is an Asian. My daughter's Blasian. I love Asians. But at the end of the day, to get my beautiful hair to look the way I do, I got to go to the beauty supply. I got to go deal with the Asians, right? If I want to eat food in my own community, I have to go to the Albanians. We are the only community, there is no other community like that in the world, where you can go into that community and nobody in the community owns anything. That's an issue. And that's what we're changing here. And that's the reason why I'm grateful that HUD's here and I'm grateful that SBA is here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to move to Q&A now. So, yes, if you wouldn't mind letting us share some of your microphones. We're going to have some runners here. And who would like to be the first question? I see a, okay.
This to my housing commission guys. It's 43, I think, projects under the housing commission in Detroit. What are y'all doing to make sure that people in those communities, because when we talk about capacity, what's the capacity for landscaping? For real, for real. How hard is that? So how's we making sure, ensuring that every time them HUD dollars is going to them various different housing communities that get HUD funding, that the people in that community to do contract. I don't buy capacity when it comes to landscaping. I can go find 30 landscapers out here. What kind of capacity is that for real? So that's just a simple way to empower people at all the housing projects. People in the community should be doing the landscaping at all of them. That's same as Section 3. That's all I have.
So is that question directed to Mr. Muhammad? Okay. All right.
Well, appreciate that. Well, we're really just starting to start internally from the Housing Commission with obviously our public housing and our HCV residents. And then from there, just making the awareness, and then we kind of bridge out throughout the city of Detroit. Myself, I've been here at the commission just over a year. So I'm actually from out of town from a different housing agency. So I've been kind of really worrying about learning the landscape here and just knowing how I can tackle, you know, and kind of streamline the process to make the awareness from all the low-income residents. So.
Okay, I think we had another question, Shauna. A couple, oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Taylor Lewis. I am representing Inkster Housing Commission. I have a question and a statement. I heard everyone keep saying access, so it's going to have to be access and follow-up. It's so easy for the government to come and take their money out of our accounts and us pay taxes, but the access to get it back is really difficult. I understand paperwork is important for statistics and tracking, but it has to be an easier way to connect. It's not as easy. And then we have to get into the modern 2025, 2026 day. Social media and marketing is going to be a major, major key to getting the people connected to the developers, and then the developers following up with their GCs to make sure that you're not able to go ahead and work around. So that's all I have.
Does somebody want to respond? So, yeah, I was like, I'm not sure if there was this.
You right.
Okay. That's a great response. Thank you. Yes. And Shauna, this woman's had her hand up for quite a while.
My name is Michael Kendall. I was listening to the panel earlier, and the construction worker was very transparent about the contracts, and it made me think of something in the NFL is called the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule is simply you must hire or interview a minority coach for a head coaching vacancy, i.e. a black person. Now, what I'm listening to as it relates to these contracts is that these particular subcontractors who are responsible for going into the community looking for Section 3 workers and whatnot, if they basically skirt around that issue, there's no penalty for them doing that. And I believe that in the community, if they're getting federal dollars, like the Reverend said, which is our money, that it should be some type of stipulation to ensure that they are not doing the equivalent of what the NFL does with the Rooney Rule. Not skirting around it, but offering viable opportunities to these young black men, these young black women, so therefore they could come up out of poverty and away from the situation that they find themselves in, and they can have access to this money. And I believe that there should be step-up penalties for these particular companies that come and get these millions or these hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they don't return them back to the community from which they get them from.
Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Kimberly Naylor, owner of Neilwright Construction Company, and also the program manager for the Ignite Detroit Contractors. So getting contractors on these projects is critical. We work with early stage contractors because we know they are the ones who are going to really hire those black and brown people from our neighborhoods because they live with us. But a lot of times, because of the bonding capacity, we talk, the risk that's assumed, and we do all the training, we still have this challenge of making that trust appear with the training we invest. As a trainer with one of the local training centers here, for over 18 months, we built simulated housing. I teach drywall and finishing, and we tore that down. And then we build it up again, and we tear all that drywall and put it in dumpsters. Construction materials is very costly. There's a lot of workforce development that we do have already, but I would like to see how is the public housing in Detroit going to partner in any other city with the training program so all that hands-on training is actually making unit of housings, which would make it then easier to find possibly Section 3 workers because they've been on those projects, they're working from those communities, and they're seeing the transformation. How do we connect the two together so those workforce dollars actually work with our housing and make it easier to get those Section 3 workers introduced to the skilled trades as their transformation of poverty into new reality?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question before I answer. So you're saying you want to connect the dots to training opportunities that will allow for people to either renovate or build homes? Is that what you're asking?
In the Section 8 communities, there's a community on Linden and Evergreen. And in this public housing space, there's probably about 40%, I might be exaggerating, but it's quite a bit of units that are boarded up and not occupied. But then we're doing Section 3 workers from these low-income communities. That's a job site and the workers right there together. How can we start looking at processes that those workers who reside there, instead of training in other locations, they could be training and converting those unit of housings with these material costs. Now there's unit of housing available, but we've also prepared some Section 3 workers for other new developments coming. How can we possibly unite that effort with the workforce development in these public housings, making unit of housings at the same time?
I think the overarching, like I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's necessary. So we offer pre-apprenticeship programs year-round. We offer 2 a quarter. One we partner with Focus Hope, and the one we do personally in-house. We have the space and the facilities to be able to allow anybody over the age of 18, regardless of your criminal history, regardless of your transportation barriers, to be able to get to 96 and American and be trained. So the notion that we have to do it at the location, I don't think is necessary, and the liability and the insurance behind doing it actually on the job site, because once you leave a training facility, then it gets into that muddy waters of liability. So it's possible, but again, is it necessary when you have partners that are already training to do framing and concrete and everything else that would be necessary to build those homes?
And I'll just add to that. I know some of our projects, the apprentices are on the job, so they continue their training because they need so many hours, I believe, to get their journeyman card. So it starts at a certain point, but once an apprentice is on a job site, they continue with their hours toward their journeyman card. So it is some training on the job sites.
So maybe that's a ability to co-locate, which is what she's asking for it to be on the same, co-locate, like on the same location. So I appreciate that ad. She has a question. Folks, okay.
Hello and good morning. My name is Ms. Annette Taylor. I'm with the Melvindale Housing Commission along with my Executive Director, Ms. Cynthia Telfer. My question was for the training. she pretty much answered my question. Once they go through the training and did their apprenticeship, how do they help the contractor get their journeyman? I have a 2-point question. That was the first one. And the second one, how do they go about helping the contractor get their, go through Laura and get LLC pretty much?
So as it relates to the training, like I said, every quarter we bring in a new cohort of apprentices. Those apprentices will start at their first year or freshman year, to put it in layman's terms, right? Every year they matriculate up. It's a 4-year program. Our apprentices go to school twice a month. Did I mention it's free? So no student loan debt. Nope, you don't have to pay for books. You don't have to pay for tools. You don't have to pay, it's free. Again, it's on 96 in American. So they're trained there, they matriculate up, and once they finish their 4th year, their apprenticeship, they have a culminating test, and then they receive their United Brotherhood of Carpenters Journeyman card. So this is every apprentice that goes through that graduate, they are a journeyman carpenter. As it relates to a contractor becoming a journeyman, that's not how that's not how the process works. A contractor wouldn't need to be a journeyman. They will hire the journeyman to work for them. Yeah.
So you have a partnership with Ms. Ford and Mr. Williams that you've mentioned, but I'd like to know a little bit more about that, because I think that might be interesting to our audience here today. How does that work, and how do the people that are being trained flow into your programs?
Yeah, I just kind of give it from my perspective, working with MRCC, with Leah and her group. What typically happens, you could almost say I have a we have a collection of general contractors that we have been working with for some time. And again, kind of going back to what I said earlier, one of the biggest challenges was, again, the general contractors were looking for Section 3 business concerns, and again, their sub-trades now looking for workers. So again, once meeting with Leah and Patricia and us all kind of sitting down, it was just determined that what does it look like, right? So I route typically a general contractor's representative over to her group, over to their group, excuse me, and same thing with any of the sub-trades. And I guess one of the other things I do is I have a resource sheet, right? If you go on the Michigan website, Section 3, I have a resource sheet. And these sheets have listed whether it's Department of Corrections, MRCC, Oakland Technical Center. These are resources that they can use that I now hand out, so to speak, during our pre-construction, just to make the co-hiring process a little bit easier, even during the pre-bid process. So me giving it into pre-con is more so of a follow-up. Hey, if you didn't get it the first time we discussed it, here it is again. But again, working with her group, they already have the folks that are certified. And again, because the general contractor doesn't want to have to certify a person. They don't like dealing with paperwork a lot like that. Same thing with the sub-trade. They're just looking to work. So again, the easier that I can make it on my end for the general contractor and the sub-trades, the better. And they will typically always have the better results, right, than those that did not plan.
Exactly what Liqua said. I would just add is that's why we try to meet with the project, each and every project, and we mention the resources. We mention MRCC. Even if it's a developer and general contractor we have worked with prior, we still remind them. We remind them to remind them subs, to make sure, or to invite their subs to our meetings, to make sure the subs hear it directly from us. So exactly what Liqua said, but we always promote our partnership.
Okay, last comment.
I just want to additionally add, we also provide the outreach we cover that risk of needing to complete so many hours of outreach. So Liqua does his part, Patricia does her part, I do my part as far as connecting the apprentices and ensuring that we get them certified as Section 3 workers. But on the business side, we also do the outreach to find those Section 3 qualified workers as well.
Okay, here's my question to you guys. Got time for one more question? Okay, but after we have this last question, if you did not get to ask your question or you have feedback, please use the QR code because that information will be routed to the appropriate person. Okay, so last question.
Hello, my name is Keyshawn Wade. I work for the Flint Housing Commission as a resident services coordinator. I have two questions. My first comment is rather thanking you all for your expertise. It's been really informative and really helpful to be hearing from people who have expertise in this industry because we're dealing with so many complex institutional problems. And I really am just really thankful for you all giving that level of expertise and speaking to these issues. My first question is about a question that was raised earlier about contractors or institutions that we may contract with, like not choosing to hire Section 3 workers, hire Section 3 business concerns. And I'm wondering whether or not, because I know at the Flint Housing Commission, we have a policy that if you do not, follow Section 3 guidelines and hire certain quotas of people, you actually have to pay in a certain percentage of your contract into a training fund that is then utilized for the purposes of Section 3. I'm not sure if that's a Flint Housing Commission specific policy or if that's a policy that's supported by HUD. So I wondered if anybody might be able to speak to that. Additionally, I had a question about, for us who are trying to, support targeted Section 3 workers, public housing residents, residents who utilize Section 8, for those of us who are hoping to get them to create their own Section 3 business concerns and have that ability to open themselves up to economic opportunities outside of traditional Section 3 employment opportunities, how can we get them the resources to actually be able to stand on their feet? I'm speaking directly about the financial resources needed in order to make money. It takes money to make money, and a lot of these individuals don't have the financial resources, support, or background to even begin to be able to do that. I know at my housing commission, we've started working with the Small Business Development Center, but again, we don't have the financial resources, we don't have the grants, the loans, et cetera, to actually operationalize these business concerns.
Okay, thank you. We're going to break your question into two. You're sitting right behind an expert on Section 3, so she's going to answer the first question with you after the session's over. And we have time for one comment on question number 2, which was resources.
I was going to comment on question 1.
Okay, well, I can answer first and then you can answer. So HUD has said that no, you are not allowed to have contractors pay into a fund to get around Section 3 requirements. If you have that as a penalty after the fact, I think I'd have to talk to somebody, but HUD has been very, the stance that you cannot, that is not how you can run your program. They have to try to follow Section 3. That cannot be like automatically my free pass. So there's an AAQ about that with the answer. And then did you want to add to that or?
So I think the next part you were talking about how can small business owners get some access to capital? Well, I'd like to encourage you to come to the Small Business Administration because one misnomer people have, we do not lend money, but what we have is guarantees. And we also have seed lending partners. We have micro lenders. You want between $5,000 and $50,000. We can help get you in front of someone to help support you with that. So just give us a call at SBA and we can get you a plethora of information about the different funding sources.
Okay, first I'm going to have us thank our panelists and then I'm going to kick it to you, Shauna. Okay, so can we have a round of applause for our panelists? They were fabulous and we greatly appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with us. And Shauna?
Hi, Denise Cleveland Leggett, Region 4 Administrator Southeast in Puerto Rico in the USBI. But I want to thank you all for the comments that you all made, Pastor Sewell, Mr. Irving, and everyone on the panel. I just wanted to make a comment. In my region, I ran into a developer who was very concerned about Section 3. And he was honest with himself and said, I'm not doing the right thing. I'm not bringing on Section 3 people. So what he did was he hired someone to only do Section 3 within his company and brought in, and it didn't wait until the projects came on. He started looking proactively to bring in a list and of Section 3 potential contractors, individuals. He was very serious about it. And in a very short period of time, he made a huge change in his company. And I had the privilege of meeting some of those individuals whose lives were completely changed. Parents, fathers who broke down in tears, who said, my life was changed because of Section 3 job. A mother who was able to provide for her children. So I think if the developers and contractors get serious about really not making excuses, well, I can't find anybody, proactively look for Section 3 contractors, individuals, because you hear all of the resources that are here in this room, not only with the housing authorities, with SBA, and it's possible because it is a life-changing opportunity for people because I've seen it. The self growth and the pride that people take when they have these Section 3 jobs and it completely changes their lives, it makes a difference. So I think we need to get serious about going out there and making the effort to provide Section 3 jobs.
Okay.
There we go.
In the interest of time, we're going to go to HUD and then, because, we're between you and lunch, right? So use the QR code, please. Thank you.
It's right here. QR code's right here. Denise, that was excellent. Thank you. And panelists, thank all of you. Amin, thanks for having us yesterday. I heard you don't let anybody else in there, so I guess we're a little special coming in there. But look, here's what I can tell you. This was a listening session for a reason. And I learned a lot today that we just complicate this way too much, right? And I'm hearing from the grantees, there's this paperwork and that paperwork and this site to go to and that site to go to. It should not be this hard. Secretary Turner continues to talk about taking inventory and cutting red tape. And frankly, the federal government has been derelict in its duty in doing that. We make it impossible for you to talk to your government. We make you have to go out and hire consultants to come and talk to your government. It is ridiculous. And here's what else I can tell you too. A lot of people said they didn't even know about Section 3. Why? Because again, we're a bunch of weirdos. We talk in sections, right? Government people talk in sections. Section 3, Section 4, Section 8, Section 221D4, right? So I think it's all gonna come around with a branding and a rebranding of how we really present this. But you didn't know about Section 3, but now you do. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here in Detroit. That's why we're here in a church. And to be honest with you, we'll go anywhere. We have these conversations in City Hall. We have these in state capitals. We have these in basketball gyms all throughout the country. And my team, I want my team to all raise their hands. This team represents the HUD national team, right? So these are all the appointees from this president that represent all of our HUD field offices. 57 HUD field offices in the country are represented here today. But we're listening and we're learning a couple things. Pastor Sewell talked a little bit about an app. We don't need the Pastor Sewell to invest in an app. We don't need Pastor Sewell to do an app. That's something that we're going to do with the federal government. And what we're going to do is, what we're doing Right, Chris Taylor? Is Chris here, or did he go downstairs? Oh, you didn't go down for lunch already? That's good. What Chris will tell you is best efforts, greatest extent feasible. We've made it very easy to get around the law because we haven't provided the right amount of resources. So the resources we're talking about are an opportunity portal, a business registry, where essentially grantees can go on and say, this is where the opportunities are. Section 3 businesses can go on and say, hey, I'm right here. So when they come and say we couldn't find anybody, I'm like, did you check the business registry? Because right here, there's 17 businesses. I got 6 painters, 3 electricians, 2 cement masons, where I was talking to a guy down here that was doing some cement work, right? I got some landscapers. We're gonna do all that connectivity to connect you to your government to help cut out the middlemen. So it's a little bit of a way to close out this section. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Pastor Sewell, thank you. And for the grantees that are here, I encourage you. We have lunch downstairs provided by the pastor and his team, so thank you very much for that. I want to encourage you to stick around for the second part, because that is when we're really going to have the more robust discussions. We heard you, grantees. We heard, you know, the people where our money's flowing. We heard from you what the hurdles are. But what we really need to hear from is the people that it affects. And that's the residents of these communities where our HUD dollars are going. Why are they being shut out of the process? How can we make it easier for them to get involved in the process? So go have lunch, but I encourage you to come back up after lunch. Oh, well, we'll let him do that, but I will step off the stage. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Sewell to close out our morning program. Pastor Sewell,
thank you so much,
thank
Joe.
you.
Come on, let's give it up for Joe. He's an amazing leader. Amazing leader. Everybody please stand. Everybody please stand. Pastor Devine Baker, can you come up here real quick? And also Deaconess Ebony, can you come up here real quick? They literally organized this whole thing, you all, on the 180 church side. And come on, Deaconess, come up here real quick. And listen, I am a very, very difficult leader to follow. And they did everything to excellence. Come on, let's just give it up for them, please. Come on, Deaconess, come up here real quick. Real quick. Okay, we have Jimmy John's downstairs. Please stick around. Please stick around. Let's eat together. Let's get to know each other a little bit more. But before we pray, realize that there are 26,000 children today that will die because of starvation around the world and preventable diseases. So when we bow our head to pray, let us be thankful for our daily bread. Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, thank you, thank you, thank you. You did not have to do this today, but you selected us to be your hands and your feet, and we are so grateful. To whom much is given, much is required. So we want to be used by you because you selected us to do great things in the earth, and we pray for this food. We also pray for those who are hungry all over the world. Would you also give them this day their daily bread? In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Come on, let's put our hands together one last time. Give our great God great glory. You can meet us downstairs.